The evolution of human society started as groups of nomadic people who roamed the lands. The nomadic lifestyle was strenuous, and survival depended on finding your next meal. Hunter-gatherers believed in animism, the concept that a god is in everything. People wanted to control the natural world around them. Religion brought the ancient people together, and they gathered to worship their deities and perform rituals. In Egypt, one of the earliest religious sites, a stone cow, started their civilization's path to the religion that gave their society the ability to flourish. Humans left behind their hunter-gatherer lifestyle and created farming settlements in the Fertile Crescent where grain was abundant. They domesticated strains of wheat and barley to yield the most food. This labor was hard, and our ancestors dedicated their entire lives to farming. They domesticated wild animals for food, clothing, and labor. Agriculture gave people the ability to live in larger groups and brought about the first cities. With this newfound food security, people could start focusing on other aspects of society like religion and other trades. These cities were located next to a prominent water source, for example, the Nile in Egypt or the Tigris and Euphrates River in Mesopotamia. Access to water was essential for irrigation, sanitation, transport, and drinking water. Now that people were living in large groups together, this gave them safety in numbers. Large walls were erected around many cities to protect them from invaders. Neighboring cities would trade with each other, creating trade routes, merchants, and specialized artisans. Writing evolved as people needed to record their supplies and transactions. Early writing started in Sumeria and Egypt. Both systems gave people the ability to record and store records. Writing led to the development of stories, songs, and written law. Religion flourished as these cities grew larger and more populous. They built most cities with large temples as the most important feature. These temples gave people access to the gods and were great locations to collect taxes. These now vast cities needed to be governed. Most of the time, the sanctioned rulers ensured their power by claiming a connection to the divine. The creation of a ruling class led to the development of laws and punishments for breaking them. New bureaucracies led to greater construction projects, but with the arrival of wealthy aristocrats, slaves were abundant and did most of the grunt work that built these great civilizations. Each person in the city had their job, whether they be an artisan, a merchant, a farmer, a warrior, a king, a governor, or a slave, and each of their professions usually confined them to a certain class ranking in society. These cities turned into city-states that were independent of each other. City-states grew and created military forces. The first militaries used bronze weapons. Bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. Bronze was durable and resistant to corrosion. Greater military power gave city-states the ability to conquer other city-states. One of the first great empires, Babylon, resulted from city-states gaining land and conquering other states. The Assyrian Empire created the first professional national standing army. Professional, they paid people to be a part of it. National, the king led it himself. Standing, it was never dissolved. Army, it was made up of many sections of trained troops. After the Bronze Age, another metal emerged. Iron was easier to make and much more accessible as it did not require tin, which was only found in a few places. The Romans were a powerful Iron Age civilization that developed much of Western society as we know it today. But the Romans built their empire on the backs of the Etruscans and the Greeks. They assimilated much of their culture, including religion and scientific innovation. The Romans advanced military organization and battle tactics with their improved weaponry and fortification methods. They led an immense army made up of 25 legions and 250 auxiliary units. They gave us advances in administration and functional infrastructure that facilitated trade and the distribution of resources throughout the empire. The Romans taught us that this was the backbone of an organized society.
They created a vast system of law, one that is still used in Europe, America, and the International Court of Justice. One of Rome's most influential actions was the adoption of Christianity as the state religion by Constantine. This allowed Christianity to flourish and attain its place on the world stage. Along with Rome, the Greeks created a system of democracy and placed great importance on things like philosophy, mathematics, literature, and art. Greek classics are still influential today. Our ancestors were human, and we shared the same drive to advance, create, and live together. We still gather and live in large cities and rely on our government and bureaucracies to construct roads and buildings. We may not be ruled by kings and emperors, but society still creates the same social structure where wealthy people are at the top and hold the most power. We still desire justice, even though our punishments for wrongdoing may not be as extreme as the ones we first used. We still place importance on culture and still appreciate art, music, and writing. Like the people of the ancient world, we strive to develop new things. We see this in the great strides we take in scientific and medical advancement. Learning about our history shows us how we got to where we are and how we might move forward in the future.